Hello everyone and welcome to Raising Intentionally, which is the new name of our channel. I had always thought Truly, Madly, Intentionally Mom was too big for a name, but I didn't want to wait to start creating content until I found the perfect name. But looks like now I have. Do you like it? I would love to know in the comments what you think. And in today's episode, I would like to share 5 practical ways to encourage independent play in our children. So let's dive straight in. Number 1 is to start them young. Long stretches of immersive playtime might mean only a few minutes for a newborn, but even newborns can engage in involved, independent, and immersive play. If we really try to attune ourselves to our baby's needs, we may find that they have the short few minutes after they are fed and changed and well rested. That is, once all their needs are met, when they are attentive and engaged. That is when they are most responsive to the stimuli around them. And as much as we may be tempted to engage with them and coo to them and sing to them and play with them during this time, this is exactly the time that they should be left alone, at least some of the times, so they can engage in independent play. Play for a newborn is mostly observing its surroundings and taking in loads of subtle information. So it is important that we resist the urge to talk to and engage with our babies every minute that they are awake. Doing so can subconsciously prime them to be dependent on external sources of entertainment, whereas leaving them alone to play at least some of the time gives them the message at a very early age that they are capable of entertaining themselves and that there is lots of interesting stuff to observe around, even if there is no one to talk to them or entertain them. Of course, if you didn't do this when your children were babies and they are older now, there is nothing to worry. Children are so adaptable that it is completely possible to build a habit at any age. You can just take the first step to unlearning old habits and building new ones now. Number 2 is to create a yes space. A yes space or a safe play space, and I have a separate episode on this one which you can watch by clicking this link above, but briefly here, a yes space is a safe play space that encourages the child to play independently. So it does not have any hazardous places or items that we would restrict our children from touching or going to. And it has age-appropriate toys that are not over or under-stimulating for our children. It is a space that is very conducive and inviting for play. Now, if you have more than one child, and especially children of different ages, then it also means that they need to have some kind of separation in their play spaces. So one does not interrupt the other's play. And so that the choice of toys automatically remains age appropriate. Now, this of course does not mean that you need to have a mansion complete with separate playrooms for each child you have. A simple ball pit with some safe toys in the same playroom as the older child is a good enough yes space for a baby. This often works well at stopping the baby from disrupting your older child's play. When curating a yes space, it is important that the space is protective of each child's play and that it has minimum potential for one child to disrupt another's play. Number 3 is to limit passive entertainment. If our children constantly have passive entertainment around, they're going to find it hard to step into an active role in their play and reap the huge benefits of independent play. Passive entertainment includes screens and passive toys, or toys that play for your child. And for more on how to use screens meaningfully, you could click the link above to watch an entire episode on this topic. Similarly, click this link to know more about active and passive toys. Now, I totally understand that there is a variety of opinions about screen time, and I'm aware that there are families who do not believe in restricting screen time whatsoever. And if that is what works for your family, then by all means, go for it. But personally, I do believe that limited exposure to passive entertainment encourages children to step into more active roles in play. Number 4 is be a passive playmate. And yes, I do have a separate episode on this one too, which I will link to later in this video. When we join children in their play, we often tend to overpower children's play by pushing our agendas and ideas, which are more often than not going to be better because we are adults. If we want to encourage our children to play independently, we need to know how to engage in our children's play with full presence, but while staying in the role of the passive playmate. And you can simply click the link at the top to watch the entire episode on this topic. Number 5, and probably the most important part of this video, is mindful interruptions. Now, if I say do not interrupt your child's play, that'll sound extremely unrealistic, because if your child is immersed in independent play over long stretches of time, you're bound to need to interrupt them at some point. Say to call them over for breakfast or to get them ready to leave the house, etc. So let's consider how we can be mindful and respectful of the child's play and interrupt without disrupting or with very minimal disruption to the child's state of flow. I would like to break this part down into 3 subparts, A, B, and C. And A is to reconsider the need to interrupt. Before we even go on to actually interrupting, I think it is worth considering if we really even need to interrupt them. Most of us unconsciously just shout out our children's names out loud from the kitchen when our children are in the playroom with no consideration as to what they might be doing. And I am certainly guilty of this myself. But if the child is happily immersed in soul-satisfying play, then I believe we could all do with a bit more mindfulness of our need to interrupt. If we carefully observe children at play, their flow naturally hits a pause from time to time. And that is when they make eye contact with us, or come over to talk to us, or switch playstations. Now, if we can be watchful of these natural pauses, at least most of the times, we can avoid disrupting their flow and train of thought, and this can help improve their focus in a big way. So if it's breakfast we are calling them for, can it wait for a few minutes until the child's play hits a natural pause? Or can the others start having breakfast, and can we let our child join once he has hit a natural pause? If we need to leave home in 30 minutes, can we be a bit more mindful and watchful of a natural pause in our child's play slightly in advance, and make sure we stop them right at that natural pause and start to get them ready to leave, so that we don't pull them out from right in the middle of play and drag them out of the house? Well, despite all of this mindfulness, I'm sure there will be times when you will need to interrupt children right in the middle of their play. So I think it is worth pondering on how we could do it more mindfully while causing minimal damage. And so that leads me to B, which is the art of interrupting without disrupting. The pandemic saw most of us work from home for most of the last year, and many of us are still working from home. Imagine you had to call your partner to the dining table for lunch. Would you just barge into their workspace yelling out their name loudly before even checking what they were doing? No, I guess most of us would give some thought to what they might be doing. Could they be in a call or meeting? We would first peek in and check, and then begin to speak only after they intentionally make eye contact. For children, play is extremely serious work. That is how they primarily learn about the world. So I guess it deserves no less importance and seriousness than any of the serious work that we adults do. So if we could mindfully first check what our child is into, gently approach them, maybe even sit down on the floor with them, and ideally wait for them to make eye contact. But if you can't, then gently maybe first get involved in their play for a bit, and then respectfully ask them if they would stop their play and do whatever we need them to. That way, we cause minimal disruption to their state of flow and also model respect for each other's work. So, as a bonus, they also learn that the next time you are working, they can't just pull you away from the laptop, but need to do it in a more respectful and consequently more peaceful way. And the third and last part, C, is praise. Not just praise in general, that is a separate topic for a separate episode altogether, but the good job and great choice kind of sentences that we sometimes mindlessly throw around, wrongly assuming that we are encouraging our children by doing so. This is a specific kind of interruption that we parents sometimes misperceive as good. Imagine you were writing a book and I stood over your chair and kept saying, "That's a great sentence you've written. Oh, I love how you use that word," every now and then. What do you think I would be doing? Encouraging you to write better? Certainly not. All I would be doing is interrupting your train of thought and flow. And you would soon ask me to go away and leave you alone. That is exactly what happens when we praise children in the midst of their flow and play. Wow, you used the red block. Now you're using the blue block. That's awesome. Oh, pink and purple paint. Love the combination. Wow. Does this really encourage them, or does it interrupt their creative flow really? I honestly believe this interrupts their flow and indirectly also makes them dependent on that praise to be able to do well. So the next time we feel the urge to say something while our child is playing, let us all remember to reconsider our need to say it, so we can raise children who can play independently, develop laser-sharp focus, and are not dependent on our praise to do well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Raising Intentionally. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you will know when a new episode is up. Signing off for now. Bye bye.